Hi, since we can't have ops sessions like we normally do because of the coronavirus outbreak, I thought I'd do a little operations on my progressing model railroad layout in the interim. This is the Minneapolis yard that you see here. I've got tracks divided up, and you may be able to see some of the tags I have on the tracks. That's primarily for the operators when we return to ops sessions, so they can determine which tracks are dictated by where cars should be picked up or set out. I use a switch list called Ship It, which is a computer software I've been using for about 20 years now on a previous layout, and I am gradually adjusting it to this new layout that I have here. This is the Rice Lake, Dallas and Menominee number 3. There are 3 layouts that I've had over the past 35 years, all named after a railroad that existed at one time in the 1890s. As I'm looking here at the freight list, the first train of the day coming from the Minneapolis yard is train 926. It will leave the yard with 2 cars, but the switch list says that the yard switcher has to shuttle a couple of cars around, so we're going to be doing that first. Anyway, here's our switcher number 312, the DRS 441000. And what the switch list says here is that I have to move these 2 cars from the Minneapolis Ice House over to the Shoreham yard. So we're going to do that. I use a Digitrax system on my layout, and I just converted to Digitrax about 10 years ago. Before that I was a total DC operation, not on this layout but on my previous one. The 2 reefers I've got here have poultry products that were just iced at the ice house and are going to be returned to the yard for departure on a subsequent train. We have Sioux Line reefer number 1942 and a commemorative reefer from the 1997 NMRA convention, which was here in Madison. And I see I'm missing something else, but what I'm going to do here is grab an uncoupler. I like to use the Ricks uncouplers. I like them even more so now because I've got a disability. My hands aren't as nimble as they used to be. And they're easy for me to get a car uncoupled rather than trying to lift the car and try to get it back onto the tracks. I've got to do a little runaround here in order to get onto the other end of these cars. So we're going to use this passing track here. I'm going to get a couple of these turnouts realigned up on the head end here. You can see in the background here I've got a couple of passenger trains pre-staged, and that will, during off sessions, include passenger runs on the layout. Right now we're just making up one of about 18 different freight trains that I normally run during an ops session. Okay, I've been grabbed the other side of the two reefers, and they will go into the showroom yard. On this sheet here, it says pick up these cars from Ice House, set out into the showroom yard. And I will uncouple them there. This is normally the job of the yard master. I've got several skilled yard masters in my ops crew, and I've had them over here once or twice just to have a look at the way things are and see where I need to rearrange things. A couple of things that I did add were these two passing tracks right here, because it was kind of tough with only one passing track, which was in here, to shuttle cars back and forth and not get these all tied up. So I'm looking here at what we're going to do to build a train. Now typically in a yard, at least been in my experience for the one summer I was a switchman for the Sioux line, is that the yard master can use any track in the yard that he wants to do switching and making up trains. In this case, I've got one track open here, and it's called the Shoreham Interchange, and I will use that to build my train. One of the things I'm going to need to do first is to get a caboose, because the trains will be going this way, so the first car in has got to be a caboose. I don't have a caboose track per se in the showroom yard here, so I'm storing them temporarily down on a track called West Minneapolis Transfer. The caboose I'm going to be using here is one that I kit bashed from a model die casting or roundhouse old timer kit, and it essentially looks like, or made to look like, a Sioux line caboose that was acquired from the Duluth South Shore and Atlantic. Sioux line cabooses typically had 3 windows on one side and 1 on the other. This one's got 3 windows on both sides. I did several of those some years back, before there were actual commercially available cabooses. Now there are several very fine kits on the market. I think Atlas or Athearn came out with some a few years back that were close but not totally accurate. Okay, I've got the caboose there. Now I've got to look at my switch list again. And I've got 2 boxcars that I've got to pick up from the Shoreham yard. And I bet you they're on the same track as I just dumped those reefers. Sioux 44532 and Sioux 45392. And their contents are wholesale hardware that will be eventually going to an industry in Rice Lake, which is about 20 feet that way along the outside of the layout here. But I'm just going to be showing you how I'm making up the train today based on this. So 44532, let's see where that could be here. 44532, it's on this track right here. These 2 cars right here I'm going to have to pull out. So let's see here. I'm going to align the turnouts, and all the turnouts in my yard here are manually operated. The only powered turnouts I'm going to have on this layout are behind me along a 26-foot cantilevered main line, and eventually that will all be scenic over there. That represents Barron, Cameron Junction, and Rice Lake. So those are the only ones that that have powered turnouts. And I don't know if you can see that here, but I've got a couple switches. I use mini servo motors on those turnouts. All right, let's get this going here. Oops. Gotta make sure that everything is lined properly. So we're going to go into this track here, just take a look at all the switch points. I'm going to pull out this whole string and cut off the last car because the second and third to the last cars are what I need. Let's cut off that last outside brace boxcar, which was produced by AccuRail, by the way. A very nice outside brace boxcar. It was produced and sold through the Sioux Line Historical Society. So I know it's prototypically accurate. Alright, now I'm going to back these two cars onto the Shoreham interchange track. And I've already made an error. By just looking at the numbers and comparing them to my switch list, and being that at one time I also did some what's called rover work in the yard, we always carried a list of cars that we could check inbound and outbound trains to make sure they matched the switch list. Well, I just noticed that 45322 was not on here, so I'm going to dump that back. That's a wasted move because I didn't look before I went and grabbed it. So, as long as I got these cars here, 44532 is there, 45392 is here. I've got them right now. Occasionally that is a problem when you have car numbers that are close or part of a series. I have some cars here that have caused some consternation, or both outside brace box cars to be used for grain hauling, because the era that I model is before they had covered hoppers to haul grain. So we hauled grain, Sioux Line hauled grain in outside braced box cars. But the two sets of box cars that I've got, and here's one here, are numbered from 100 to 106. Well, the Sioux Line Historical Society came out with outside brace box cars, and they were numbered Sioux Line 100 to 109. And occasionally in the past my operators would get those confused. These gray ones here are labeled for my home road, the Rice Lake, Dallas, and Menominee. But they would just look at the numbers and occasionally they'd say, oh man, this isn't the right one here. So it's always important to keep an eye on the numbers. I know some people will have ops sessions that they just pick up cars. And while that is okay, I like to be as accurate as possible. And that's why I like this software. So again, that's called Shipping. Been on the market for quite a few years. Now we're going to dump the rest of these cars back into the Shoreham yard here and cut them off. when I'm setting up my Digitrax locomotives, I like to keep the switchers at 50% speed or less, so that if somebody open it up really fast, it's not going to run very fast. And I'm also gradually changing the maximum speed on all my decoders on my engines so that they don't run very fast at all. That way it will make the shortened distances on this layout seem a lot longer. We do actually operate on a fast time clock, and it's about an 8 to 1 fast time clock. So I can fit a 24-hour day, which is what the ship operates on, and that'll transpire over a span of 3 hours. Alright, now according to this, the train master assigned engine number 371, which is over here, to this train, and I'm going to actually grab another throttle to get that out of here. Shows you how prepared I was. That way I don't have to change the numbers on this. Okay, let's get local 371, enter. Let's make sure I've got the right one. Back up. And these babies are Walther's engines that came out several years back. I've got 3 of them. And these babies are set up so they operate just a little slower. Got to back it past a turnout on the engine house lead. Now, this is 3 feet across here. I can reach over here, but some of my operators don't have as long arms or aren't as tall as I am. I'm 6'1", so I can essentially reach, and my reach factor is normally 2 feet. That's what this is over here. This is only a 2-foot reach. But on this peninsula and another one just like it over there, which is Duluth Yard, you can get on both sides. And I also have a plug-in over there so that yard master or an assistant yard master could be working that side, but a single yard master can work here. Okay, I've got 371, which is an RSC 2. The Sioux Line did retruck those things after a period of time into what they call a BB arrangement, 4-wheel trucks. The ones that Walther's produce are 6-wheel trucks. So let's make sure all these turnouts are aligned here, and let's bring it forward. Forgot to turn the light on. Oh, it's coming up the yard lead right now. Like I said, this thing really crawls, so it's not going to be a fast run when that train goes up. Being that this is an Alco locomotive, the long hood is forward. Now back onto the train, make sure I got it. Okay, that train's ready to go. Typically with train number 926, because it starts out just a little after midnight, I will pre-stage that train so that when the clock is turned on, the fast clock, the train's engineer, whoever's assigned to that train, can pull out right away, so the yardmaster can get at the next set of trains or interchange trains that he's doing. So that's it. That's just one train to make up. And again, we run, it depends, between 16 and 18 trains in a 3-hour operating session. At least that's my goal. Watch for more videos like this, being that I'm kind of homebound now, as many of us are, because of the coronavirus. I've got extra time on my hands to do modeling and produce some videos.